Welcome. Today, we're doing something a little different, something pretty special. We're going to take a timeless poem from the 13th century and see what happens when we look at it through the lens of 21st century technology. Let's see how smashing together the old and the new can really change the way we see things.
You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a page, you're reading the words, but the real soul of it, the spirit, it feels like it's just out of reach. It's almost like these ghostly ships of meaning, just sailing away into the darkness before you can really grab hold of them.
But what if we could change that? What if we could use new tools not to replace our imagination, but to shine a new kind of light on that ancient landscape of metaphor and emotion? Well, that's exactly the journey we're about to start.
Okay, so for a journey like this, you're going to need a guide.
So let me introduce you to Professor PoAIt. He's our AI guide for this whole exploration, this really unique blend of tradition and tech. And if you look closely, you can see he's made of both classic, scholarly tweed textures and these glowing streams of data. He really represents a new way to learn, acting as our visual partner to help us illuminate those very ships of meaning we were just talking about.
And this brings us to the core idea of what we're doing here. Poetry. Yep, it's pronounced exactly like poetry, but it's poetry seen through the illuminating power of AI. Now, the goal here isn't for the AI to give us one single correct answer. Not at all. It's to reveal the possibilities hiding inside the text, making its ancient wisdom feel more real, more tangible for us today.
Our first journey into poetry is going to take us all the way back to the 13th century, to the profound words of the Persian poet and scholar Rumi and his incredible poem, The Guest House.
Just take a second and let those words sink in. Rumi is suggesting that our very being, what it means to be human, is like a house that's constantly receiving new visitors. And these visitors, they aren't just people. They're our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings. So here is the absolute game changer in this metaphor. Rumi is telling us that our emotions, our joy, our sadness, our anger, they are not who we are. They are simply temporary visitors passing through. And that idea, that simple idea, invites this radical shift in perspective, from constantly fighting our feelings to actually welcoming them with honor.
So, to really dig into this, we gave Professor PoAIt a creative challenge. Visualize these emotional visitors through 4 completely different artistic lenses. Let's see what he came up with.
First up, probably the most welcome guest of all, joy. How could we actually see this feeling in a way that feels both real and, well, serene? We prompted the AI for a photorealistic, almost cinematic scene, and wow, the result is pretty stunning. You see this warm morning light just flooding through an open door, and a figure made of pure golden energy is stepping inside. It's so peaceful, it's welcoming. It's the very feeling of joy made visible.
All right, next we're going to tackle a more difficult guest, depression. For this one, the prompt was different. Instead of a person or a figure, we asked the AI to visualize it as an external, temporary force, kind of like the weather.
Now, what's so interesting here is how it captures the feeling without being literal. See, the house, that's our core self. It's sturdy, it's standing firm. The depression is that dense, blue-black fog that's surrounding it. It's heavy, for sure, but it's on the outside. And maybe most importantly, there's a faint but resilient light still glowing from within. This is so powerful because it helps reframe the whole experience. It suggests this isn't a flaw in the house itself, it's just a storm that will eventually pass.
So what about those, unexpected, prickly emotions? For the next lens, the prompt was to visualize meanness as a metaphorical and maybe even a little playful creature.
I have to say, I just love this interpretation. The creature is spiky and a little shadowy, but it feels more mischievous than truly menacing, right? And notice the most important detail. The door is already a bit ajar, and this welcoming light is spilling out. It shows a host who isn't afraid, who's ready to greet even this awkward guest with curiosity instead of fear.
For our final lens, we're going to explore a more complex visitor, momentary awareness. The creative brief here was to render this in the style of a Mughal miniature painting, which connects back to Rumi's own cultural roots.
And this is just a beautiful, culturally infused take on the idea. Here, awareness is the central luminous figure seated honorably in this ornate room. The other emotions, you can see joy and sadness, they're shown as smaller figures who are presenting themselves respectfully. It visualizes awareness not just as another visitor, but as the dignified host of the entire court, observing all the other guests with real grace.
So, after seeing the poem through these 4 completely different lenses, what's the big takeaway? This is where the focus shifts from the poem back to us.
You know, it really all comes down to this. We started with one poem, but we saw it can have countless different visitors. Each lens, from the realistic to the totally abstract, it revealed a new layer of meaning. And that's the power here. It reinforces that core idea. Our emotions are not the house. They are only the guests. And by seeing them differently, maybe we can start relating to them differently. Every single one of them can be a guide, and every thought is a visitor, worthy of being welcomed.
And so, the final invitation is for you. Just take a moment to think about your own inner world, your own personal guest house. Who's arrived at your door today, and how are you going to welcome them?